Hi, girlies. Welcome to Book Please Podcast. We're so excited to be back for another episode. I have my girlies with me.
Hi, it's Nata.
Hey, it's Amanda.
And I just need to get something off my chest before we get started, okay? Because I have had a day and I need to talk about it. Okay. So I have no sense of direction. It's like one of my very few toxic traits, okay, you guys. No sense of direction. The GPS is my absolute savior, and I am completely incapable of going anywhere without it. I went to TJ Maxx down the street. My phone died, and I had to ask a cashier, please, can I use a charger? I can't get home without my GPS.
You're kidding. The TJ Maxx is like right there. It's like around the corner from
Wait,
you.
I know. I didn't realize. I felt so stupid when I got home because I was like, it was one turn. It's like
Literally.
turn onto one street and then I straight home. It's like 6 minutes away.
This reminds me when we went
Such
to
a
get
low
ice
point.
cream and you couldn't like find us. You were like driving around.
Oh my God.
And you were so frustrated.
No,
Like, just tell her to go home. Just tell
that
her to
was
turn around.
actually Nata called me and said, girl, you don't have to come. Because, but no, that wasn't a GPS issue. First of all, you dropped a pin. You didn't send me like the name of the ice cream place. You sent me a pin of your location, and the ice cream place was in a construction zone. So the pin, like they were doing construction all down the street, around the block. So the pin took me to the construction site. So I'm like circling America trying to get to it. And I see it and I'm across the street and it's like these orange cones. Like I'm in the construction zone. Give me a hammer. Let me climb the ladder. Like, and Amanda's like waving like her little self. She's like, we're over here. I'm coming
I'm
outside.
like, the ice cream
and I'm
is
like,
melting.
like, I saw you guys, but it's just, it was,
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
Like, also, that's different. But like, I cannot get anywhere without my GPS. I'm going to lean on being new to the area until forever.
You've been here a
But-
year and a half, right?
Okay. 2 years now. It's
I have
2
no
years
words.
this month.
This reminds me of our like grandparents back in the day. They didn't have phones, the GPS on their phones. It would come down to like my grandpa asking me to print out an address on MapQuest. Do you remember? And you would print it out and he would know exactly where he's going. Like they were so brilliant back then.
Yes, but when we started driving, I was printing MapQuest too.
Mhm.
Like I remember in the very initial stages, like we had the little family, like the little Garmin, remember? The
I
little
do.
like mobile GPS that you like could sit up in your car, like the way people prop up their phones, like you could like suction it to your window.
And
it was
always fell off. Always fell off.
fell. And it was horrible. And it like would lead me through a parking lot to get around the corner. Like it was just so bizarre. But if like my brother had it or my dad had it, like we had a couple between us, but not like one for each of us. And I was like living at home at the time, like a teenager. So there were times where
I just want to shout out my mom quick because even though she has a new car that has GPS in it, she still uses the one that, you put in the address.
Old school.
I'm like, Mom, use your
Oh
phone.
my God.
My mom is
Oh
She's
my
like, "No, this is
God.
easier."
My mom is so good at directions. Like my mom is just absolutely brilliant and so smart and amazing. But she goes somewhere once and she could get there blindfolded.
That is my dad. And also like could find an alternate route like on the way back. My dad thinks that everyone has, and it's like so embarrassing. He's like this man of nature. Like he could follow the moss. Like he knows how to get around. Like you put him in Survivor. He thinks that everyone has this like sense in their body, like it's human nature that you know where north is. He thinks it's a natural instinct that your body can tell you where north is. And I'm like, Dad, like I don't have that. I have other things. I'm great, whatever. That I don't have. And he doesn't believe it. He's like, no. Think about it. Think about your room. Think about your window. Like, which way does the sun set? And I'm like, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
He's like, get out of here. Which way does the sun set from your window? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that even mean? So I thought this was a hilarious thing that like he thinks. I was like, that's amazing that you thought you could teach me something. So I go to my mom to like shoot the shit and be like, this is so funny. And I'm like, Mom, like dad's trying to tell me, like everyone knows where north is. And she's like, well, think about the sun. And I was like, Mom, not you too, girl. You're supposed to be on my side.
When I first moved here, I felt like the first month, even if I was going to the same place every day, I needed the GPS. After that, I feel like I don't ever turn on the GPS now, unless I'm leaving the vicinity of Fort Lauderdale.
I think it fails us because we're not paying attention to our surroundings. When I'm forced to not look at my GPS and I'm like looking around, then I know like, okay, it's across from the CVS and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
But
GPS
because,
is such a crutch.
yeah, like when I'm so focused on the GPS, then I don't really know what's going on around. Same with the backup camera. Like I used to reverse, I could close one eye, I could do it all. That reverse camera changed my life. And my boyfriend has a little sports car without one, and he just drives like insane without this camera. And I'm like, I don't know how he does it. One day I drove his car and I totally forgot. And I was like, wow, this is bad. Like I reversed into a spot and it took me a hot minute. And I'm like a parallel parking queen, like all this. I'm like, wow, this really like just it just shows you.
My mom has the camera in her car and she never uses it. She'll still turn around and look like old school, just old school.
Yeah. Okay, Nata, you need to tell everyone what you did because it's been killing me softly with this song.
Wait, what about what? The hut?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I got scared for a second.
So you did something absolutely amazing, and I need to put it on blast to clear my name.
For some reason, I'm nervous all of a sudden. So
go ahead.
I live on the Riverwalk, and as you're going up and down the river, there is this new little triangle hut that somebody made and put there, and it's like the absolute cutest little thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, have you seen those like neighborhood little boxes?
Book hut.
It's a book hut.
You take a book and leave a book, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so I saw it. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. And tell me why I felt guilty walking up to it. I like looked left and I looked right. I was like, is anyone watching me like open this thing?
Shady business.
And there weren't that many good books in it. So I think I grabbed one book, but it wasn't that interesting. So I ended up like returning it. But when I did go to return it, I brought one of my books, which has been incognito and missing ever since. Like, and this was a few weeks ago. So I was like, how long does it take you to read a book? But
oh, you're not getting that back.
I guess. But the other day I go in there and there's like a huge selection of books and I immediately get excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting.
That is so cute.
And sure enough, I pull out a book that's called It Ends With Us by Colleen. By Colleen Hoover.
I'm like proud mom right now because just before you get into it, like we need to rewind and remind all of our listeners that Nata was like shitting on Colleen, on me for liking
Ugly
Colleen.
Love was not good.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's okay. Authors can't kill it every single book. You didn't like Ugly Love, but I understand sometimes you get turned off and you don't want to like give another one in that genre or by that author a chance. But I was like, I've been saying like, please, like, just I will buy you the book. Like you just have to read it because it's one of my favorites.
You put me on. I loved it.
Oh my God. Like literally Amanda was like texting me every major thing
I read it in
happened.
one sitting.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I'm so jealous of anyone who reads it for the first time. I'm like, oh, just to be able to do that again. But anyways, go ahead.
So it was between that book and another one. Do you remember the two that I sent you guys?
Like Where the Crawdads Sing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I was so tempted to grab that over the Colleen Hoover because I just felt like with Ugly Love, it didn't deliver. And it's hard when you already have like an opinion of the author in your mind. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to grab It Ends With Us. And oh my God, obsessed.
That's what she ever did?
Obsessed is an understatement.
It just has a
Absolutely.
lot of layers, which you thought it would just be love, but it's so many layers.
It's so many layers, and I think that's why I liked it so much, because it wasn't your cheesy love story like we met in the park and we lived happily ever after. Like it,
Which I don't like that. I need something that has that's
Drama.
deeper. It's not it's not even drama. It's just I need something more profound.
Mm.
Like I can watch like something cheesy that's like a love story or whatever, like on TV casually, but like when I want to read something like that, like I want to feel it.
When I finished the book, I literally went from not giving a hoot about this book, about the movie, to about to write to Warner Brothers about the casting. Like that passionate about it. Because now that I have the characters in my mind, I really don't like who they picked and what they did with
You
it.
feel our pain.
I do. We're still going to go and watch it, though, regardless.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. It's more about how they did up these characters because they have an all-star cast, but like you don't make Blake Lively Raggedy Ann. Like that's just a sin. It's like Miss Frizzle. Like it's just so very sad. We
Wait,
talked
Miss
about
Frizzle
it like
from the bus show?
Yeah.
The yellow bus I love?
The magic school bus.
I love that show.
We're
yeah,
aging
well,
us.
she's apparently Lily. So at this point. Like anyways, but the book is stunning. Like it's just the most incredible read. And I had said this like in like our first episode, it was like one of the books that I recommend, and how I loved that when like it wraps up, like the last line of the book is the title of the book. And my favorite part that was that it had nothing to do with a man. Like I just loved it was just so powerful and just so much deeper than just a love story.
So I think that you're a little biased, so I'm not going to ask you this question, but Amanda, what did you think of It Starts With Us? Because Sarah, shout out Sweet Paisana, our friend,
Biased. I read it too.
She didn't like it. She didn't like It Starts With Us at all.
I liked both. I thought both were great, actually.
I don't know. That's right.
Yeah, I liked both. I mean, obviously the first one, like, is always the best.
Of course.
You know, but it was nice to kind of like see the ending and how things played out. So.
Yeah. So it continues the story, and you also get Atlas's perspective in the next
exactly.
book. So
I
it's
love
like
Atlas.
I was gonna say he's so dreamy.
I love Atlas.
There's no third book, and I hope there isn't going to. I don't think there is.
It's perfect the way it is.
Colleen said that she'll never do a third because she's never going to do Ryo's point of view.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, I think the story is also complete. There's no need. It would just be overkill.
Nothing's missing. Yeah.
Nothing is missing. I think that the second book like wrapped it up. I get why some people are, because you're so in love with the first one, but I feel like I loved how it continued the story. You get to see what happens in the end, what comes to be of their like dreams, and all of the little pieces come together. And
guys, I have to tell you, the part that I absolutely loved, and I was like, oh, it's all over, was when Lily went to the restaurant with Ryo and her mom for the first time. And she's like,
and they got into it. Yeah.
No. It was just that it was just that one moment where she looks up and she's like, I recognize that face, and I knew immediately it was going to be Atlas. And
chills.
And I
was so happy for him.
I loved that he looked like he was the waiter and she thought he was like just the help, and it turned out like he owned the restaurant, and I was like, oh, so I love this.
We're gonna do an episode. You guys read this book on your own free time if you haven't, even though the world has read it. We'll do one when we watch the movie, and we'll like talk about everything.
So good.
That'll be so amazing.
Did you read the second one yet or no?
No, I haven't yet because I've been focusing on our book, and then I picked up another book from the Hut, so I have some. But Elina's supposed to let me borrow it on her Kindle. My mind's just I'm reading
Colleen Hoover and a Kindle. Who is she?
I'm reading romance.
Who is she?
I'm somebody else.
I love it. Okay, you guys, let's jump into our book.
Yay.
I'm excited to talk about this. It's Nata's favorite genre, a thriller, because if we're going to read some love bookies for me, we're going to read some thrillers for my girls over here. Nata, why don't you start about your thoughts? We read A Stranger in the House, chapters 1 through 15 by Shari Lapena.
Yes. So it starts off as a typical thriller does right off the gate. Karen, which is a main character in the book, is fleeing the scene of what is an accident, and her car goes into a pole, right?
Hmm.
A tree or a pole,
Or a
whatever.
tree or a
A,
pole, yeah.
a
Yeah.
pole.
Oh, is it a pole?
That girl was riding dirty. She
Yeah.
was racing.
Yeah, she was racing and fleeing from something, hits a pole. Then it goes to what we find out is her husband, Tom. He comes into their home and he sees the home is a little bit left in like a disheveled form where she was mid cutting a tomato. She had pasta going. Her phone is left at home. Her purse is left at home. And he's questioning, where is my wife? Like, she's a housewife. This is so out of character for her. So then he calls 911, and within minutes, an officer appears at his door and he's like, well, that was quick. Come to find out that they found out that it was his wife that was involved in the accident. However, that's like our typical thrillers. So many characters are coming in and out. The detectives that are researching the case think that there's more to the story. They're questioning why Karen was in the worst part of town and what she was involved with. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't know why she was there. She doesn't know anything, and they're trying to figure it out. Then we find out there's a dead body and there's a connection between Karen and the dead body.
Oof.
And all this time her husband thought he knew his wife. Like, he never questioned her before, but as all these things are coming up, he's starting to wonder, who did I marry? I never met her family. She never had any friends. Like, who
Yeah.
is this woman? So what did you guys think? I'm loving it so far.
I hate Tom.
Why?
I hate Karen.
Wait,
Because he's
what?
such like I feel like when he walked into the house, like my first instinct would be to call the police. Like he like took his time, was looking. I'm like, oh my god, if you do not call the police. So he annoyed me there. And then when he covered for her about the gloves, I'm like, I get it. You have to like stick up for your wife, but I don't know. It was just messy, like messy.
Okay.
And then she was another one that was driving me crazy. Like I think she remembers. I think she's full of it. I'm already like wondering if it's like a guy she used to like be with and she was hiding from him and then he found her. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know.
Wow,
I have so
you feel
many
so
guesses.
strongly about this. You thought it was wrong that he took his wife's side in covering up about the pink gloves?
Yes, because she's gonna get caught. They have it. Her DNA is gonna match. She looks like a liar. I would have been like, yes, that's yours. It went missing. Like, you know what I mean? Like now he's a bad liar. He didn't even do a good job at lying. So I was like, oh, you might as well have said it was
I
hers.
as soon I knew the gloves were going to come into play very early on. The minute that so basically like in the beginning there's a progression of Tom sort of having his doubts.
Hmm.
I'm replaying everything. So first he starts like, okay, like just like a little seed is planted when the officer is like confused, like questioning if she has amnesia. He defends her. And then when the officer leaves, he does a top to bottom search. He goes through literally everything and then tries to make it like pristine, cleans up. And he was like, he makes a little comment like couldn't find her gloves to wash the dishes, moving on, like that had nothing to do with anything at that point. And I wrote down those gloves are coming back. But I think that in that instance, it was wrong of her for sure to lie about the gloves. I think it's like if you're being, you can pin it as like being framed or this or that, but you're going to look dumb later
Exactly.
when they can attach them to you. Like, I don't know if her husband should have done anything in the moment. I maybe would have not even commented on the
She
gloves.
forced him to. She forced him. She said, "Oh, they asked me if I had gloves, and I told them I
Yeah.
didn't."
I would have been like, oh, okay. And then maybe later been like, oh, don't you remember those old gloves you had? You know, like something, anything
Yeah.
to help the situation. But I feel like he didn't have to directly be like, nope, no gloves here. Like that's going to maybe bury them.
Hmm.
I feel like she
Like, why is she
maybe
lying?
I'm
It makes.
trying to decide if she fully has amnesia or not.
Hmm.
She did make a comment at one point. She's like, Officer, I don't remember anything from that night. Maybe she actually doesn't remember that night, but that was a very particular choice of words where, like, she knows why she would have been there. She knows the lead up. She knows who this could be.
Be. Hmm.
Maybe that's what it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if she was lying. I do think Bridget, her neighbor and best friend, there's something up with Bridget and Tom. So
Oh,
I think there's something up with Bridget, but I didn't make the connection between her and Tom.
at first,
that would be a good twist.
this is why. At first, she goes, Bridget, the neighbor, like a friend would, goes to the hospital, like waiting around to go in, sees Tom in the wait, like she's in the waiting room, sees Tom, and Tom's like, oh, she doesn't want gas, like she's not going to want to see you, whatever. And she's like, it's okay, I'll just wait. And goes in to see her later on, and Karen was like, oh, thank God my friend was here. It was such a relief to see her. And I was like, well, that doesn't add up. Why wouldn't he know that like she would want to see her best friend? That was like a weird thing that he's trying to push her away. Then there was a moment when they were like in the house together when she had broken the glass. She's like very paranoid. She thinks somebody's in her home, right? She sees this glass. It like causes such panic. So I think maybe somebody is, like out to get her, or like coming in or setting
Maybe
her
Bridget
up.
put that glass there.
Glass there. Maybe she was over with Tom.
That could be the connection. She drops the glass, and then Karen comes over, and then they call Tom. Tom comes. And there's a part that was very minimal, but I think it was intentionally planted by the author, where she said that it was hot out and Bridget's in a little tank top and like pulls her hair back slowly and ties it back. And Tom watches her do it. And
Wow,
he's
that's
like
a good catch.
watching
I
her.
missed all
I
that.
missed
And
all
I
that
was like,
too.
oh, this like slow little hot scene. Like there's something weird. And there's a part where it's like he's watching his wife, but he's also watching her. Like,
That's so
and
interesting.
I was like, ooh, like there's something with them too.
And that makes sense why he never asked his wife more questions. He's too preoccupied maybe with the neighbor.
What were you gonna say?
Who do you guys think the dead guy is? Like in relations to, like obviously she killed him. I think she definitely did. But I'm wondering if it's like a crazy ex.
I don't think she killed him.
You don't think so?
I've read this author's another book from this author recently. It's called The Couple Next Door. Same format, kind of like she just, you think you know what's going on, and it completely twists and turns 100 times.
Maybe Bridget's setting her up, like left the gloves there on purpose. She has access to the house.
I have no idea, but I thought it was so troublesome. Those kids that stripped him dry of his wallet and his belt and his jewelry, and they were young kids, and for them not to even be disgusted by doing that or creeped out, like, oh my God, a dead body.
I know that body lingered for a while.
Yes,
like,
because
when are they going to get it?
The first time the body was found was by those kids that stripped him dry and just fled the scene. Then it was a couple that was hanky panky, making out, having fun, and the boy was 18 and the girl was 15, so he was afraid of calling it in because he'd get in trouble. So I do wonder who ended up calling it in, because it was an anonymous call. Do you remember that? It was anonymous tip and an anonymous call.
Bridget, it was Bridget. I think Bridget was also at the hospital. Now that you got this in my head, Elina, was there to see if she remembered, because maybe she knows what really happened and she was there too.
Because aren't you getting bits and pieces that Bridget's kind of like crazy? She sits by the window and watches everybody, and she says her husband keeps his distance from her, and I don't know. I don't know.
I think like Karen seems like a woman on the run, like she's hiding from something, and I think something or somebody is out to kind of get her, whether to like frame her, like keeps coming back from her past or whatever the reason. And I think she's like just like innocently a victim at this point. That's how I feel, that things are happening to her, and maybe she's like scared to share, but she is so paranoid, like everything makes her jolt and scream, and there's trauma there. So I'm not
now
sure.
I feel bad saying I don't like her, because I'm just like, she definitely did it. She's lying.
No, usually with this author, it's so many twists and turns, like you won't even believe it.
I mean, yes, there are always points where you just want to scream, like at Tom taking such a long time, like get it together.
I wanted to shake him. I was like, okay, what? You need to, I was just like, if you don't pick up the phone and call the police.
He was like,
he started making dinner.
Yeah. And then he started thinking like, oh, are they going to think like I did something to her? I'm like,
but if I'm ever mangled in an accident and my man is making pasta, we got a big problem.
But that's the thing. Like that one detective kept pushing at him, like, are you guys having marital issues? Are you why does it always go to that? That's always the first thing.
Statistically, it's always
Yeah.
someone you know and your husband or spouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the person closest to you.
To
I don't
you.
know why and like who knows the most. Like they're trying to get information. I don't know why they think it was weird that he called the police before they got there. They're like, oh, he reported her missing and this and that. Like, I don't know why they keep harping on that. Like, that's absolutely normal.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
don't.
that doctor that came in after and told her, you kept screaming someone's name, and it was Robert. He was like, you kept
Yes.
screaming their name. Do you remember that? She goes, no, I don't, but I don't think my husband needs to know about that. The doctor should have told the detectives.
Oh, that'll probably happen.
I wonder if he has to, like, if that's like a HIPAA violation, like a patient confidentiality thing. I mean, it's not really about her health, so I don't
Well,
think
she's
it
not
would be.
connected to the crime yet. Like, I feel
At
like it
that
kind of
point.
ends. Yeah, she
Mhm.
wasn't. It was just an
Well, it's getting there now.
accident.
It was really cool to see it come together with it, where it's like, okay, this is just a crash situation, then we have a murder investigation, then they're piecing it together.
Mhm.
What I really liked about this book was I think it's a light read. It's a good like thriller that like you can fly through if you're just like interested in picking something up. I like the pace of it. There was no drag. It was like, okay, this is happening. Now she's home. This happens. Like, boom, boom. I'm like, now we're at the medical examiner's office. Yes, give it to me. Like, I
The
enjoyed that
chapters
pace
aren't
of
like
writing.
dragged out.
Nothing is unnecessary. Nothing is dragged. Like, I enjoyed it. I'm at the point where I'm not like, okay, this is the most compelling thriller. Like, you read something so profound, like The Housemaid or something, and you're just like, this is iconic, this book. I feel like this is like a lighter like read, but in a good way. Like it's super easy to fly through, and I don't have any really complaints right now.
Yeah, I just want to know who's the dead guy, who did it,
I don't
what's
think
up
we
with
know
Bridget.
anything about who's dead right now. Like that person, we need more.
I do think they were wealthy because the way they described his clothing, and she made sure to describe that he had very nice slacks on, a very nice dress shirt on, that he looked, and he had the expensive belt, he had the gold ring that they took off of his finger. So I don't know. I do like this author a lot. Like I said, I see so many similarities between her last novel that I read and this one. Her writing style is just like, it's to the point,
Yes.
It's not dragged out, but I will tell you, if it's anything like the last novel I read, twists and turns, like you will
They
be
hope
like
so.
mouth on the floor. So
Wow.
far, if you had to rate it from like 1 to 5 as far as like interest goes, what would it be? Mine would be like a 4.2.
I'm gonna go with like 3.
Oh my
Amanda,
god!
you have to speak on a podcast.
I know. I'm
giving
giving it a 2.
2 out of
I would
5.
say a 2 just because I feel like I compare it to Housemaid. Like Housemaid's one of my favorite thrillers. Like there was just
I love
so much
Housemaid.
going on that like
Hold up. Did you listen or read?
She always
Oh, I'm
listens.
100% listening. Yeah, I'm listening.
I
So
swear,
what is
you
it?
need
Isn't
to
it an
start
accent?
getting books. And
Oh no,
comparing.
Not an
it's
accent.
not it's not no. I mean it's fine. But it's not about like I just think the storyline is pretty generic. That's all. Like
I do feel that way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a very cliche type of thriller. I agree
Like
with that.
we know she's like involved somehow, but like you guys said, she's probably not going to be the killer. So I feel like it's kind of we'll see.
Guys, I just looked at the cover because I actually have the book. The cover is a stranger in the house. It really doesn't even have anything to do with a car accident. So it comes back to that glass mysteriously.
I told you there's somebody going in there.
And making her crazy?
It might be Bridget.
It's like right in our face. It's like it's called a stranger.
A stranger in the house. And it's a girl in the background.
That's Bridget.
Is that too convincing?
Well, that could just be Karen, but honestly, that is a good call out.
Yeah,
like,
and
I do think
just
there's somebody in there.
In the back.
If someone's living in the crawl space or something, that would be sick. I would love that. That would be so good.
In the
I think
back,
that's way
it
too
does say then she realizes something in her house has been moved.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Tell you someone's living there in the walls. Oh my god, I would love this book so much more if that does happen. If it's like someone living there the whole time, how creepy.
You know what's so funny when we like watch this back and it's like, yes, it is somebody living in the house. You know what I mean? Like when we reviewed The Housemaid and we were like saying how the husband was like such a nice guy, so sweet. It's like people were writing to us and they were like, I found this hilarious having read the ending, what you guys thought in the beginning.
I love that book so freaking
I hope
much.
it has a great twist and ending because then I'll love it so much more.
It will.
I hope
Yeah.
it's like you said, it's not going to be what I expect. Which I
I'm
hope.
sure it will. I'm sure
Yeah.
it will. Let's give this woman some time to build the story up a little
Yes.
We're getting there.
bit. Okay, so I'll guess hopefully we'll have some more questions answered and it gets a little more juicy
For
next
Amanda,
week.
it's already juicy
For
me.
Amanda specifically, for our girl, we'll be reading chapters 16 to 32 for next week's episode. So read along with us and meet us here next Wednesday.
Do you want to plug in our socials, Amanda?
Sure. Please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Threads. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Book Please Podcast. And then we're also on X/Twitter at Book Please Pod.
All right.
It's like a cheer move.
Have an amazing week.
Bye, guys.